update?
Yeah.
Kind of roll through the guys.
Yeah.
Just starting with Mo.
Yep.
You kind of described that as a nasty ankle
Yep.
sprain.
He's got a high ankle sprain.
Where is he right now, and any chance of?
He's doing good. He's won't be available tomorrow. There's a chance maybe next week. We'll see. These things, sometimes can be weeks and weeks and weeks. So he's doing everything he can to get back. It's just these high ankle sprains are super painful, and it's without getting too specific, it's just a torn ligament between his tibia and fibia, and it's just whatever. So.
And then with Jalen, has he been able to get back on the practice floor and do?
He's been a little bit on the practice floor. He's going to try and practice a little bit today. He was he did some live stuff yesterday, and so he's kind of working his way back in, and we'll see how that goes.
And is that full contact? Or?
Today we're going to let him you guys can all come take a shot at him if you want to. Just roll in, and so we're going to see what happens.
Any chance of him tomorrow night? Or
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not sure.
And then JQ, you mentioned, I think it was like 4 weeks ago, you said coming up in about 3 weeks he had that strength test.
Yeah, he killed it. He crushed it. So he is now we're working him back into some parts of practice. He still can't be a full scout team body. We're not going to let him do that yet. We're going to bring him back slowly. But he actually played in some full court 5-on-5 with our GAs, and we grabbed a couple kids from the rec center, and I think he had a lot of fun doing that yesterday and felt pretty good. So he's on his way back, and it's just for him, it's just a matter of being smart and being hyper cautious and put him in a great position to do it. But he's made good progress.
You referenced the other night just one of Andrea's best games
Yeah.
for you guys. He obviously arrived late in the summer, so
Yep.
he missed out on that, and obviously, sure, his head was spinning, new culture, new team, new style of play. Just where have you seen the biggest growth from him, and maybe what's still left for him to tap into as the season goes along?
Well, I think he's got a big upside. I think he can get better and better and better. I smile about him because for so long I was fighting him to shoot the ball, and he had and he's taken it to the extreme, which is exactly what I wanted. He had the triple shot fake, side step, shot fake, step through, shot fake, three, which is good because you want these guys to color outside the lines so you can find the lines, right? But I think he's got a tremendous upside. He's got a unique physicality to him that's pretty good. He needs to rebound the ball better. He's got to learn a second hit. That's really important. He's got an ability to play a little bit in the post. He can make some decisions. He's an elite level shooter. He'll shoot it better as the season goes on. And he's got pretty good feet, man. He really doesn't get exposed with the guys going by him. He's been really good that way. And so I think there's a lot there that we got to learn about him and figure him out. He's going to be good.
What does he need to do to bring out more of that physicality? Because he's even talked about when he first got here, maybe that being the biggest transition was just the more physical nature.
Just reps, just getting out there and playing. It's just a matter of getting used to the speed and the handsiness of nature of the game. It's just a different physicality. Actually, there's some things that he does that we're working so hard with our guys to be able to do, and there's some things that are new to him. So it's just familiarity.
Like one player, you never know how it's going to change an overall result of the game. But how much in the North Carolina game are you missing a guy like Mo? Even if he's not getting rebounds, just kind of adding that physicality and taking attention.
Going into the game, I was more nervous about the matchups than I was after the game. I actually thought probably the guy that we guarded the best was Caleb. I thought between AJ and Cam, we did a really good job. I mean, I think it was at some, you think just 19 shots and then a handful of free throws and I don't know his total possession count, but it was really successful job in that space aside from the glass, right? It was just the glass that really hurt us. He did a tremendous job on the glass. So I think Mo helps us for sure. I think Mo's an emotional leader. I think he brings toughness. He brings a lot to our team. And so, when we get him back, we're going to be really happy. But I thought Cam and AJ for the most part did a really admirable job.
You referenced Cam a couple times there. Just over the last few weeks, as he's getting a bit more run, are you feeling more comfortable with rotations to insert him into guys that have him along the court? And I guess what's that process been like of getting him acclimated to the way you want to play, but also bringing out his length and his physicality at times as well?
You know, he's making progress. He had one possession where he got downhill all the way to the rim, and you know, we need that more and more and more. I thought he had some plays where he's really physical. He had a collision with Visar early in the game in the post and got called for a foul. And I was actually so proud. I was really happy with him. He's going to have to be that if he's going to steal some minutes at the 4. I thought he was, you know, he actually improved his lead on the rest of the team in terms of DPA. In a game where I thought he could get really, really exposed, he didn't. And so he just has a way of functioning on the court in positive ways. He's an elite level shooter, and he's going to start making shots at some point. But he's going to grow a lot. You know, he's like our team. You know, I don't wish this on us. I actually don't wish this. I wish this was not the case because I'm soft and I like things to always be perfect. But this team has a chance to grow into a great team. We're not right now. We're not, but we have a chance to grow, and some of the hardship we're going through is gonna make us great because we're great authors and that's what we do. But Cam is one of those guys that I can see what he can be by the end of this season, and it's pretty exciting, and it gives a chance to be great, and so it's gonna be fun to watch him grow.
Both Owe and Yelvis talked after the game about playing kind of hero ball at the end.
Yep.
And I'm just curious, is that like good that it's recognized by them, and then also how do you approach that?
Yeah, yes. You know, it's interesting. You know, when you have games like that, when you have the one possession games that are so painful because you don't get the one possession that you needed. You go you go play by play by play, and I don't know how functional it is, but it's an exercise, and I think the guys saw all the opportunities there were to actually make. It's interesting, you know, those two guys, because Otega had a great on a horns rip play. He had a great downhill play where he kind of went off 1 foot, went at the rim, and Caleb went and made an unbelievable block on the glass. And in retrospect, to 2 feet, a wide open Malachi Moreno roll into the rim is a game-changing play. They executed everything well except for the final discipline decision point. You know, we 3 possessions later, we have a pretty good look at Da coming off a ball screen, and then he's got Yella on the right wing and hits Yella. And Yella has a shot. It's a challenge 3, but it's a 3 that we've been saying, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. But he's got Malachi on a mismatch with 44 right in the middle of the lane. It's like, that's the one when we get good, we're going to actually make that extra pass and punch that and punish it and take the easy points. Both those ended up in transition opportunities on the other side. And so that's you know, I talk about this all the time, and it's the reason is because it's true. Is just a process, and unfortunately sometimes it's really painful about actually putting experience to the words so that we have a common definition, and the fact that the guys are able to say those words and understand means that we're growing, and that's important for us. We really got to grow and keep going.
You mentioned the extra pass. Last season it seemed like there were so many possessions where as soon as it crosses that court, like the ball doesn't stop. Maybe all 5 guys touch it, it's going all over the court, and there just obviously hasn't been as much of that this season. Is that younger roster, more inexperienced? What's the disconnect there, I guess?
It's a lot of stuff. I think it's a lot of things that we're digging into as we go. Like we're in a learning process right now. So it is trust in that process. It's you know, there's some positive things. We have guys that are more capable of probably getting downhill. Last year we didn't really have a lot of that. So you know, if you can't dribble, all you can do is shoot and pass, and it leaves shooting and passing as the only options. And so that was a convenient limitation for us last year, actually. That's a space we really want to grow during the season, and we did. You know, our pop rule was way ahead of where it was at this point with last year's team, because of a more veteran team and a less capable downhill team. And you know, by the time we got to Illinois in the NCAA tournament, we had become a really good downhill team. Like Kobe, for example, Jax had become better. These guys had become better downhill guys. And so for us, it's a little bit the opposite growth pattern. And that's a place where if we grow, which we will, then we're going to be a really good team.
You always talk about with big men, there's so many responsibilities that they have on both ends of the court for your teams. And looking at Brandon specifically, are there things that you're wanting him to simplify? Because at times it does feel like there's maybe a lot on his plate, a lot happening, or just have you noted the way that he's tried to kind of compartmentalize everything and put it into action recently?
Yeah, yes, and sometimes the game's hard to simplify because there's a lot of simple things. There's a whole host of simple things that we need to do. It's hard to just do one thing, but usually you can grab onto 2 or 3 things to focus on, and he's got a couple of really important things for him to focus on right now where I think he can find a settled place. And he's a massively important part of this team. He's a really, really talented player, and he's going to get better and better.
Well, obviously, Ortega thrived in that kind of system last season where there was a lot of space and he had a lot of room to operate. What can be done to maybe get him more of that with this team?
Well, it's a process. One, the most important thing is Ortega being Ortega, which he's working his way back. I thought it was his best effort. I thought it was the most Ortega-like play that we'd seen from him. I think he was pretty passionate on the defensive end. I think there were some moments where fatigue crept in and there was some slippage on the glass and things like that. But I think for the most part, it was a really a terrific effort by him, and he felt like him. He looked like him. He competed like him. So I think that's the number one most important thing is him being in that space where he's like, this is where I'm really special. So I think that's really important, and I think that as we get a little bit of continuity to how we feel and play on the floor, it'll get easier. Last year, I'll give you an example. There was a lot of similarities between Andrew Carr and Ansley Almanor at the 4 in terms of the gravity that they occupied on the floor. Like there was some familiarity, whereas Mo and Cam couldn't be more different players, right? And I'd say the same for J-Lo and D.A. Like they're just very, very different in the way we would approach the game and think the game with those two guys. Not the least of which is just being a right-handed player and a left-handed player, as weird as that sounds. But there is some us getting to know each other a little bit. Malachi is so dynamic and growing, and Jasper is so dynamic and growing, and those guys occupying new space. So there's going to be a familiarity part of this that's just happening way slower than I wish it was. But we are seeing progress. It's just super painful. So I have very few worries about Ortega as long as Ortega continues to be the great self that he is and love who he is as a player and be great that way. Then we'll find all the answers around him.
Does it start with defense with him? You mentioned a few games ago that those plays at the beginning of the second half when other folks were going, and then I think everybody remembers the Duke play from last season, kind of what started it.
100%. Listen, Ortega averaged 16 or 17 points a game. He was one of the leading scorers in the entire SEC. How incredible is it that his superpower is being the best defensive player in the country, and he just manufactures almost 20 points a game. That is the money. That's why he is so special. That's why he's the SEC Preseason Player of the Year, and that's why he's going to have a chance to play in the league is because his superpower is on the defensive end, and when he does that, he just falls into 20. Nobody gets to do that. There's no players that are built that way. I'm so jealous, right? And it actually is it's something you pay for. That's at every level. That's a valued commodity. And so he knows it. He believes it. He lives it, and he's just trying to put it into play right now. And I think he's making massive progress on just loving the fact that he was built to be that player, because not very many people ever get to be that player.
I don't know if you're ready for a lengthy comment or not, because you've been busy and it was a quick hire, but you had the chance to meet with Will Stein, I think, the other night.
I've just seen him in passing. Leanne got to meet Darby. I can't tell you how excited we are to have him here. You talk about an incredible young talent. I think he is going to have a long tenure here and do extraordinary things here. I don't know anything about football other than I love to go to games and cheer. But everything I hear and read, I've had a chance to just hear some clips of him about how he thinks about the game and how he thinks about building a program. And And I know he has history here at the University of Kentucky that's really rich, and so we're incredibly excited to have him, and he's going to be a difference maker.
You're obviously not too far removed yourself from getting hired at Kentucky and settling down here again. Like, what did you lean on during that time? And maybe, I know it's not a direct comparison, but putting yourself in Will's shoes a little bit, like, what were some of the core tenets that you relied on during that very hectic, crazy time in your own life?
Well, I think, one, you recognize that hectic, crazy time is never going to stop, which is the ideal. And two, I think you just remember that you have the greatest job in the world. And he's going to feel that too here. And there's nowhere better to be. And all the pressure and all the expectations and all the stuff that comes with it is what makes it great. And so I think that's the most important thing that all of us can do in every part of our life, is just every day just recognize how blessed we are to Jay Hart and his pregame prayer. I love him so much. The way he communicates is really special. But he was saying the pregame prayer before North Carolina. He's just like, and he just mentioned, I'm so grateful, God, that this morning I got to wake up and open my left eye and open my right eye and got to roll with it, and that's really the truth. And so I think that's I think for everybody in coaching and life and everywhere else, the fact that we get to do this and do it at a high level is a blessing. And so it's going to keep him steadied through all the chaos that he goes through.
What have you seen of this Gonzaga team so far? And
Yeah.
Is it more difficult to scout a team that's had kind of the wacky resume that they've had, and also the lineup changes you've had more recently?
Well, there's nothing wacky about their resume except for Michigan. That's a third game in 3 days against you watch that film and you're like, my gosh, Michigan are they the Lakers or the Celtics? They're good. And so is Gonzaga, and it was an anomaly. Like, it was just, that's one of the ones where I'm sure Mark, looked at that film a bunch, but I don't know how much there is to take away from it. It's just a weird setup. They're good. They're physical. Again, back-to-back games, they're leading scorers that are starting 4 and 5. And the only difference is their 4 or 5 are bigger and more skilled and more physical. They play at even a higher pace. And they're really dangerous. I know Coach well. I've been battling him for, it seems like, 100 years. If he's not the best in the business, he's one of them. And they play incredibly fast. They'll dominate you on the glass. They'll kill you with paint points, just crush you in every different way. They've changed a lot of the terminology that we use. The first hit, second hit is a Gonzaga term for sure. They got veteran bigs that can beat you on the short roll. I mean, Huff's shooting 15-foot quicks off the short roll. Like, it's impossible to guard. Like, it's really, really incredible. And Ike is just, he's just a load. They're both a 1.25, 1.3 points per possession, and their derived offense in the post is just as good. And Huff's doing more damage off the short roll than is the post. So you start thinking about those guys. And then on the perimeter, they got a couple kids, man, that get down in a stance and guard. And they're a really talented team. They're one of the top teams in the country, and it's going to be an incredible challenge for us. We can't wait.
You referenced Huff and Ike there a second ago. Just what Cam and AJ were able to do against Caleb.
Yep.
Obviously, he got his, but having a very non-efficient shooting night.
Yep.
How much confidence does that give you for what they could do against those guys, especially with Mo out?
Well, they were functional for a night. Let's see if we can make it 2, with a better result. And I think they can. I think those guys. I think their upside for both those guys is massive. And so we're just seeing the beginnings of them. And if we do our job well and they do their job well, we're not going to even recognize what we see in 2 months. And I think they have the chance to be great.
What did you see defensively when you look back at Tuesday's tape? Were you pleased with that first possession, I guess,
Yeah.
on defense?
Yeah.
Was the defensive rebounding more of an anomaly, or were guys out of position because they were playing defense?
Defensive rebounding was a couple things. There were a couple things that happened. Mostly, it was just a really poor deal. I think going into the game, we were somewhere between 2 and 5, depending on the metric in the country in terms of defensive rebounding. But we have not been a great defensive rebounding team in our 3 losses. And so both those things are true at exactly the same time. And so a lot of, like, when I look back and we break down the deal, the 20 offensive rebounds is 20 offensive rebounds. You just be hard pressed to win a game ever giving up 20 offensive rebounds, and it's really inexcusable. And a lot of it goes to Caleb's talent and Visar's physicality and his length for sure. But it was a lot of it was us. Our clean 15 was poor, partly because of fatigue, partly because of inefficiency. Our second hits were poor, partly for the same two reasons, and not developing the habit of a second hit. Like, that's a really important thing. It's going to be incredibly important tomorrow night. The game's tomorrow? It's tomorrow night. And wow, everything goes fast. And so those things, and rotations were some of it, but they were probably less impactful than I thought. We were really poor being at the point of the screen, really, really poor being at the point of the screen. We're only there twice, and we'll do a much better job at that. We'll have an increased focus. And it looked bad, but really where it killed us was at finishes and fouls at the rim more than it was on the glass and getting us in rotation. So that's kind of what we saw with the debacle on the glass. There were a lot of things that I thought were really positive. Our ball screen coverage continues to be both, the roll guy and our ball screen ball handler right around 0.8, a little bit under 0.8, which is a huge goal for us. And we didn't get crushed there, although we had a couple really bad possessions. Our transition defense was really, really solid, except for 4 times where we just lost our mind, and we had one guy just be distracted by the game. And in the last 5 minutes, we gave up 2 transition layups, were just inexplicable in that game. But in terms of like the cover-to-cover effort on the defensive end, there was a lot that was good. And it's a place where we had really struggled in our first 2 games against top-quality opponents, and we made some progress.
Is there a bonus at all to playing in Bridgestone, where you'll be later on in the season?
I hope so. I would like to win this and all the other games we play there, so let's hope so. Okay?
You mentioned 3 games in 3 days. Any desire, you might need 41 games to do this, but any desire on your part with that Players Era Festival in the coming years?
Yeah, man, there's so much we would like to do if we could just grow the schedule. So just grow the schedule so we can. Like, I think it's awesome. I think it's an incredible experience for guys. I think it's a bonding experience. I think you get lost in them. It's those, 72 hours where you don't even know where you are because you're just lost, and it's really fun. Like, these MTEs are great, and there's opportunity there, and there's opportunity for growth. We're getting plenty of growth opportunities right now. But yeah, I love all the stuff. Like, just let's do more for sure. Okay, thanks guys.